Recently my mum asked if I could sort out a garden pond and make it look a bit neater. It's currently full of invasive plants, has a leak and needs some TLC. I also thought that I might as well make the pond bigger, so in this video I'm going to show you how to give new life to an old wildlife pond from this to this. Firstly, I'm well aware the garden looks a bit of a gravel desert, but due to some health issues my mum needs a relatively easy garden to maintain, so it is what it is. We have a larger pond and a smaller one at the back with liners, which I want to remove and join the two ponds into one large pond. As I mentioned, I have two invasive pondweeds in the pond, a zola, which looks a bit like duckweed and can form dense mats on the surface, starving pond plants below from sunlight. I also have New Zealand pygmyweed, which can take over the margins and also rises up in the water column, reducing the amount of open water in a pond. Both of these plants are highly invasive, and I certainly wouldn't recommend for garden ponds. It's so important to check what you're buying from garden centres, as both of these came in from garden centres as stowaways. The harsh truth is, the only effective way to get rid of both of these once they're established is to drain the pond and remove the weeds, and if you can, dry out for a few weeks, which is a big process. In this case, I'm starting all over, so should be relatively free of both of them. To help filter things out, I'll use a fine mesh net so any bits of pondweed are caught. You only need a tiny strand, and these invasive plants could be straight back in the pond. I am keen to reuse as much of the original pond water as possible to help speed along the natural processes of the next pond and help fill it up, but of course you run the risk of reintroducing the invasive pond plants, so I have various tubs set up next to the pond which I'll put in all the plants that I want to keep and submerge them, so any azolla attached will rise to the surface. I leave them in these tubs for a couple of weeks and every few days take them out and check them. I would say if you want to be really safe, it's better to just scrap all the plants and start fresh, but I hate to waste good pond plants like mare's tail, watermint, marsh marigold and hornwort. One of the first things is moving the rocks from the edge of the pond and get them out of the way. I've always liked having rocks around the edge of a lined pond, as it creates lots of hideaways for creatures and pockets to plant marginal plants. It also stops direct sunlight hitting the liner, which can damage it. I'm using this deck chair to place pondweeds on and let them drain dry, which will be much easier to then get rid of them. I take the odd cutting of them, but this is such a tangled mess of pond plants that removing all the non-native ones from this will be impossible. I have trays below also for any pond critters to crawl out and fall into, which I'll sort through later and put back in the pond. Any larger animals in the pond had to be removed, with a few frogs getting ready to spawn. I was keen to do this pond dig before the frogs spawned, as trying to sort through the tadpoles would be a nightmare. I found a couple of newts, including a female palmate and a male smooth, but not as many as I expected, and the reason soon became apparent. In a previous video, I did try to remove some eels that I stocked into my pond years ago, and I thought I'd got them all, but it turns out I missed 4 of them. This is probably why there isn't much in the way of inverts or small amphibians. As much as I love eels, they're no good for small wildlife ponds, so these will be returned to a nearby river. I also found the goldfish that was in there and a bonus crucian, but otherwise not much else. Because I've already dug the 2 existing ponds, there's nowhere near as much digging needed, so it was just a case of digging a channel to connect the 2 ponds and then shaping the sides and shelves with a spade to make it a bit neater. I used the old liner on the gravel around the pond to put soil on, so it doesn't mess up the gravel, and some tubs to put all the old soil in. I then take this to the tip in stages. Now, I thought I'd film the bit of me putting the new liner in and filling it with water, but it seems I can't find the clips, so you'll have to imagine that bit, but here's what the pond looks like now. I've completely hidden the liner with rocks, covering it, and planted lots of native wildflowers in between. It's now free of invasive weeds and no leak leaching out the water. It currently doesn't have any fish in it, but I'm tempted to add some crucians and tench, Let me know in the comments if I should. I've also got a range of merch out at the moment, including a 2025 fish calendar, playing cards, and an A2 poster, which you can buy from my website with a link in the description. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this vid, why not check out this other video right here? If you can, please subscribe to the channel, only takes a couple of seconds and it really helps me out. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.